and he caused the children to pass through the fire, and used witchcraft, and dealt with familial spirit. And his father died when he was just a youth. So we know that children are easily influenced by adults. King Solomon loved women. He loved foreign women from foreign nations. A reading from the King James Version of the Holy Bible, 2 Chronicles chapter 33. Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem, but did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, like unto the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord had cast out before the children of Israel. For he built again the high places which Hezekiah his father had broken down, and he reared up altars for Balaam, and he made groves, and worshiped the host of the heaven, and served them. Also he built altars in the house of the Lord, whereof the Lord had said, In Jerusalem shall my name be forever. And he built altars for all the host of heaven in the two courts of the house of the Lord. And he caused the children to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. Also he observed times, and used enchantments, and used witchcraft, and dealt with familial spirit, and with wizards. He wrought much evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. And he set a carved image, the idol which he had made in the house of God, of which God had said to David and Solomon his son, In this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen before all the tribes of Israel, will I put my name forever. Neither will I any more remove the foot of Israel from out of the land which I have appointed for your forefathers, so that they will take heed to do all that I have commanded them, according to the whole law and the statutes of the ordinance by the hand of Moses. So Manasseh made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to err, and do worse than the heathen whom the Lord had destroyed before the children of Israel. And the Lord spake to Manasseh and to his people, but they would not hearken. Wherefore the Lord brought upon them the captains of the host of the king of Assyria, which took Manasseh among the thorns, and bound him with fetters, and carried him to Babylon. Okay, commentary. Let's talk about what's going on with King Manasseh and Jerusalem at this time. So King Manasseh is a young boy king of the age of 12. His father, King Hezekiah, was actually a good king, but his father died when he was just a youth. So we know that children are easily influenced by adults. So to understand what type of adults King Manasseh has around him in Jerusalem and his court, we have to also study King David and King Solomon. And you can go to 1 Kings chapter 11 to study what happened to King Solomon and how it affects King Manasseh in the king's before and after King Manasseh. So, first of all, King David had cleared the land of all idolater worshipers. So, idolatry is the worship of other gods outside of the one and only true God. Okay, so basically, the scriptures say that God is a very jealous God. If you read the 10 Commandments, you'll see that the first and second commandments are about your worship and your love for God. And God does say he's a very jealous God. And so if you worship other gods besides him, he is very jealous. So King David cleared the whole land of Israel of all foreign peoples that worship idols and I guess spirits, and I guess Satan and demons, and perform witchcraft and all these things that God tells his people not to do. And so King David had cleared the land of it. So during King David's time, they had the Holy Temple, they had the covenant, and which is the 10 Commandments. And they had the Ark of the Covenant. It was very holy. God's Spirit was said to dwell in the ark, inside the Ark of the Covenant, inside the temple. And so, unfortunately, after David's death, his son King Solomon took over. King Solomon made a fatal error. And what was that error? Well, King Solomon invited all the foreign people back into the nation of Israel. And how did he do that? Well, King Solomon loved women. So King Solomon had about 700 wives, 300 concubines. But the thing about it is, he did not marry a lot of wives from his own nation or his own religion. And so he loved foreign women from foreign nations. And so King Solomon married a lot of foreign women that worshiped other gods. Now, God warned King Solomon about this, but King Solomon didn't listen. So even though King David had cleared the land of Israel of idolaters, and even though King Solomon was known to be the wisest man that ever lived, his fatal error was that in his old age, he started worshiping idols just like his foreign wives did. And the land was filled with his foreign wives and filled with his children of foreign wives. And they built temples all over the land of Israel to worship foreign gods. So in 1 Kings chapter 11, you'll read that God told Solomon that he wasn't going to destroy his kingdom during his life out of his respect for his father, his servant David. So what God did was, after the death of King Solomon, he split the nation of Israel in two, and they had a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. And so most of the kings of the north were all evil, and some of the kings of the southern kingdom were good, and some were evil. And so King Hezekiah, King Manasseh's father, was a good king, and King Manasseh is a wicked king. So this can shed some light on what's going on. Now, Manasseh ended up, well, we'll find out how he ended up actually. So basically, the moral of the story is that King David had cleared the nation of Israel of all the idolaters, and the nation of Israel was very blessed because they worshiped the God, the one and only God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and so the land was very blessed and protected. Once King Solomon came in, he started bringing back all the foreign people to the land by marrying foreign women from foreign nations that worshiped idolatry. And so then we see a point where Israel is broken into two kingdoms, and eventually they're utterly taken over by their enemies because they no longer worship God. And that's basically the moral of the story. Thank you. We can continue to watch part 2 of King Manasseh. And when he was in his affliction, he besought the Lord his God and humbled himself greatly before the God of his forefathers and prayed unto him. And he was entreated of him and heard his supplication and brought him again to Jerusalem unto his kingdom. Then Manasseh knew that the Lord he was God. Now after he built a wall without the city of David on the west side of Gihon in the valley, even to the entering of the fish gate, and compassed about Ophel, and raised it up very great height, and put captains of war all the fenced cities of Judah, and he took away the strange gods and the idols out of the house of the Lord, and all the altars that he had built in the mount of the house of the Lord and in Jerusalem, and cast them out of the city. And he repaired the altar of the Lord and sacrificed thereon peace offerings and thank offerings, and commanded Judah to serve the Lord God of Israel. Nevertheless, the people did sacrifice still in the high places, yet unto the Lord their God only. Now the rest of the acts of Manasseh and his prayer unto God and the words of the seers that spake to him in the name of the Lord God of Israel, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel. His prayer also, and how God was entreated of him, and all his sins and his trespass, and the places wherein he built high places and set up groves and graven images before he was humbled. Behold, they are written among the saying of the seers. So Manasseh slept with his fathers, and they buried him in his own house. And Amon his son reigned in his stead. Okay, so this is the post commentary on the story of King Manasseh. So we know after King Manasseh's death, his son King Amon took over, and we know that the southern kingdom, or the kingdom of Judah, did not last very long afterwards. We know that they were promised a Messiah. However, at that time they did reject the Messiah. We know the Messiah now as Jesus Christ. And we know that the Israelites And the nation of Israel no longer have the temple to sacrifice for sin offerings, basically because God said that was no longer needed after the ultimate sacrifice, which was his son, Jesus Christ. So I hope you were blessed by the story of King Manasseh. And keep reading your scriptures in the Holy Bible so that you know God's laws, and put God first in your life. And be blessed.